Down if you can hear me at the back. I hope I'm loud enough. Can you hear me? Please raise your hands. Could you settle down? Mr. Siddhu is here already. We're just going to begin the session very, very shortly. Thank you.
Water bottles for
money is taken on
brilliant session.
This is nothing.
Very, very.
Good, thank you. But it will be here.
Okay, buddy. Yes, yes, all right.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the afternoon session now. A book titled Believe to Achieve: How You Can Be Anything You Want to Be, which is specifically important for today's theme, the rise of women in the age of #MeToo. Mr. Siddhu is already on the stage. His moderator is Prem Shankar Jha. You all know Mr. Siddhu, but very quickly, he currently serves as the Minister of Local Government, Tourism, Cultural Affairs and Museums of the state of Punjab. We look forward to a talk on life's lessons from Mr. Siddhu, distinguished international cricketer, successful politician and TV star. He's talking with Prem Shankar Jha, who has just authored Dawn of the Solar Age, An End to Global Warming and Fear, offering solutions to the crises faced by the world today.
Thank you, Gitanjali. And thank you, Minister, for being here with us. Honored, sir. We have all heard Minister Siddhu yesterday, and I think you'll all agree with me that he was scintillating. So I don't really need to introduce him at all, and I will get straight to the point. Believe to achieve. It's a question of, if you were to sum up this phrase, there's one word: courage. The courage to do what you believe is right. And Mr. Siddhu has spent a lifetime doing that. I'm going to ask him to speak about this himself. This is a matter very, very close to his heart. It's his guiding philosophy in life. It was the guiding philosophy of his father, and I will ask him to speak about it. Over to you.
My time frame, sir?
Well, maybe about 20-25 minutes on this, and then we will go on to what you're trying to do for the future of Punjab.
Can I stand and have that eye contact, sir? Can I leave you for a while?
Please,
absolutely. I'm different, like Maggie sauce. Ladies and gentlemen, it fills my heart with joy unspeakable as I rise in response to a very warm and a cordial welcome from you all. Encouragement is like premium gasoline. It helps you take the knockout of life. You know, today I stand here to talk about believe to achieve. We set goals in our lives. Goals are galore. For me, the goal has never been important. is tempting, far more alluring, much bigger in the mental horizon. For me, the means that take you to the goal are more important. If you take care of the means, the goal takes care of itself. So I will talk about the means that took me to every goal that I had aspirations for, and I could give wings to my aspirations. People talk of leaders. I found out only 1 in 1,000 is a leader. The rest of the 999 follow women. See, I make you laugh. But I did across the point. That's true. I realized that when I married. Marriage is a romance in which the hero dies in the first chapter. I'm a Zinda Shaheed. So I'll start with, the greatest deterrent for an achiever is fear. The fear of failure. No matter what you do, it's lurking around. Somewhere down you could sniff it. Can I do it? Can I not? Will I do it? Will I not? And this is where a champion comes in. He has the ability to conquer his fears. And this is what makes him different from all the others. I told the story of Kapil Dev. All of you were here yesterday, or it's just a few? Is it? You were there, all right. So I'll tell you a different story. You want to repeat? All right. No, you don't want to repeat. Okay, fine. No.
Minister Siddhu,
We are going into dangerous territory. Debate is masculine, conversation feminine. Oh. So, all right. Now, so I'll go on to the other champions of my life. So Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar, and So I'll go on to Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar. And this is how a champion conquers adversity, has the tenacity to cloud over difficult situation. These are stories which happen on the cricket field. I experienced them myself. We went to the West Indies, Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar, 15 and a half. Kungrale ball. Patli si awaaz, cheery, cheery. And, he'd proven himself in Pakistan. So we go to the West Indies and we're caught on a wet pitch. A wet pitch is dangerous. You always pray, when you're playing deadly fast bowlers, that you never counter a situation where you play on a wet pitch. So I asked Mohammad Azharuddin for the first time in my life. I said, Miyan ji, tumse zindagi mein kuch nahi manga, I toss jeet jana. How? So he went and he threw the coin. He didn't know what he did, and he told me to bat. Are mere man mein kya hua us waqt. So we walked out. Curtly Ambrose, Patrick Patterson, Andy Roberts, रात को सपनों में भी आते थे वो. They would wake you up. Fearsome fast bowlers. So I'm walking with Tendulkar. I said, Tendlia. I used to call him Tendlia. So Tendlia, गीला पिच है, क्या करेंगे रे? So he looks at me. Shiri, खेलेंगे. खेलेंगे, मुझे भी पता है भैया खेलेंगे. So the first over starts, and Ambrose is bowling. 6 foot 8 inches. आसमान से बॉल आती थी. Over the side screen. It's like from the, from the heavens. Not the heaven. No, it was hell. Because when you looked at him, it was never heaven. Failed to disagree. So he bowls that first over. The scoreboard reads 1 without loss. 7 ball over. 1 no ball. 7 ball में मेरे शरीर के हर जगह पे लगी, बस बल्ले पे नहीं लगी. It hit me here, it hit me here, it hit me everywhere. And I was struggling. So I walked up to Sachin Tendulkar before Bishop started bowling. It was not as bad as it looked, it was worse, because Bishop was now coming on to bowl on that wet pitch. So I went up to him and I said, and this is what two batsmen talk about. People think it's rocket science, badi baatein. I'll tell you what we talk about. So I walked up to him and I said, Tendlia, इज्जत का फलूदा हो गया रे. I said, जैसे ही बॉल पड़ रही है गीले पे, या मिट्टी मेरी आंख में पड़ रही है, या रुक के आ रही है, या थम के आ रही है, या धीरे आ रही है. प्रॉब्लम है यार, टप्पा पड़ते ही बॉल शरारत कर रही है. That's exactly what I said. टप्पा पड़ते ही बॉल शरारत कर रही है. हाँ रे, खेलेंगे. I came back. So I looked at Bishop. Bishop started his, running from almost the boundary line. He was huge guy, a mountain of a man. And he ran in, and I looked at him, and he delivered the ball. The chewing gum popped out of my mouth. I looked at Tendulkar. Tendulkar was running towards Bishop. He ran towards Bishop. He took it on the full toss. Straight 6, back. And I walked up, said, "Team liya? Hari?" मैं कहा, "क्या किया? तू बोल रहा था टप्पा पढ़ के शरारत कर रही है, मैं टप्पा ही नहीं पढ़ने दिया रे." हंस लो, ताड़ी ठोको. You know, that's what a champion is. That's what a leader is. He converts weakness into strength. Weakness into strength, obstacles into stepping stones. For me, that was disaster. He converted disaster into triumph. Triumph. That's how I spell that. Now, when I say triumph, you know, a leader doesn't believe in himself, doesn't make people believe in himself. He makes people believe in themselves. वो इतना जोश जगा देता है, इतनी अलग जगा देता है, बंदा खड़ा हो जाता है. This is what Sehwag was. This is what Kapil Dev was. I told you the story yesterday. Sehwag, you know, they were bouncing at him. Bounce करके उसको पता है कि इसको hook नहीं मारना आता है. And I'm listening with Imran Khan on the lapel mic, because those wickets have those lapel mics. So he's bouncing and he's walking up to him. Abhi oi mote. He's telling Sehwag, "Abhi hook maar." Hook the ball. So he's saying nothing. Next ball hits him in the navel. Abhi ghonchu. Hook maar. Next one again buzzes past him. Abhi Najafgarh ke kasai. That's exactly the word. Hook maar. And the fourth ball buzzes past him and he again says hook maar. And Sehwag walks up to him. He says, "Bhai sahab, aap bowling kar rahe hain ki bheek mang rahe?" That's exactly how a champion behaves. It's just a very simple way of disarming people. That's how they're thinking. Positive anything is better than negative nothing. Right? That's fear clogs. Faith liberates. Doubt creates a mountain. Faith tunnels through it. That's the hallmark of a champion. That he converts that mass of negative energy, those butterflies in your tummy, that get the adrenaline going, converts it into a mass of positive energy, and then suddenly you see that you're achievers. Because what is achievement? Your thought process. Your thoughts are the real interpreters of your actions. You are what you think. There's nothing good or bad. It's your thinking that makes it so. And that is what is lacking in today's society. My mummy, she would quote from the Vedas. She would make me sit on the lap. She says, "Son, you don't lose one thing and you'll be a champion. You'll never be defeated." I said, "What?" She says, "Character. There's a character crisis today. People cannot trust a politician. You know, pre-independence, people used to trust politicians. Today, selfish, vested, khudgarzi, buzdili, this is taken over." So I said, "What is character, ma? How do you build your character?" He says, "Your thoughts will become your deeds. Your deeds will become your habits. Your habits, son, will become your destiny. And that destiny comes from character, because your habits make your character and your character makes your destiny." This is what is instilled in a champion. He doesn't buckle down. He never looks for sympathy. He never points fingers. And he tells himself, the biggest room in this world is the room for improvement. I have to improve every day. I have to improve on what I was yesterday. The second thing is that all absurdity of conduct arises when people imitate. When you imitate someone, you'll never be the other person and you lose yourself in the process. My commentary. It was a carved niche that I carved for myself. I was the only one on that road. The Siddhuism thing and all that. People criticized me. But I told, is the tree which is laden with fruit, which is pelted with stones. No one kicks a dead dog. You're important, you're criticized. So I moved on. And when I first commentated with Jeffrey Boycott, he was stripping every Indian. He was stripping every Indian. You know, he was abusive, humiliating. And when I first went on, I said, I want to commentate with Jeffrey Boycott. They said, "Are you mad? Are you trying to commit suicide?" Harsha says, no, सीधो चलना भैया, मार डालेगा, गिरा डालेगा. मैं कहा नहीं, या बुजुर्ग है नहीं या मैं नहीं. So I went on. The first session began early in the morning. In those days, he was desperately trying to, and you've got the Me Too campaign going on. In those days, openly, he used to actually try to woo Shilpa Shetty. He was madly in love with Shilpa Shetty. So we started off and he says, look at that, Siddhu. My first commentary session. So look at that, Siddhu. Look at the blazing sun. It's as beautiful as Shilpa Shetty. I said, Sir Jeffrey, Shilpa smiles at you because she thinks you're her father's best friend. That's why. Boom, boom, he went back. Right? And I ripped him. I ripped him after that. I was on that term. That is belief. The third thing that I've always believed in, and that is foremost, I met Shah Rukh Khan 25 years ago. In those days, he was actually acting in a serial called Fauji. There was another one, it was called Circus. So I met him. He says, Sixer Siddhu, it's wonderful to see you. I hated that name. Sixer Siddhu, if you translate it into Hindi, it becomes something else. So I told him, never call me Sixer Siddhu, I hate this. So, he goes on blabbering, and I said, what next? You're a brilliant actor. He says, Siddhu Saab, Bollywood. I said, Bollywood? I said, Bollywood, bro, your mother's not an actress. Your father's not an actor. Bollywood belongs to the lineage, man. I mean, the Kapoor family, that's Falana family, Dhimkana family. They'll eat you like a sausage for breakfast. I mean, you will not exist, bro. There's cutthroat competition. That's the last line that I said. There's cutthroat competition, I told him. He looks at me, pauses, and then says, it's a brilliant line. He says, Mr. Siddhu, I don't compete with anyone. I compete with myself. Unbelievable that was. I mean, all my life, I've competed with people. I've tried to pull them down. Jealousy is the jaundice of the soul. I've frittered away my energy at times, trying to do certain things, which the other fellow has in his own destiny, right? And it's part of most people's lives. If you're criticized, somebody says something about you, you start crying. It affects you. It actually kills you. You start reacting to it. My philosophy from that day onward, since I met Shah Rukh Khan, I wrote that. I wrote that on the wall in my room. Dunia mein sabse bada rog, mere bare mein kya kahenge log. It's a disease. It's a disease that most people are smitten with. 90% of the people in today's world are smitten with this. They're accountable to the world. They're never accountable to their own conscience. That's why they've never done what their heart tells them to do. That's why they've never done what actually comes from within. अलग-अलग कुओं के पानी का स्वाद अलग-अलग है. जो ध्वनि सोने के बर्तन से आती है, वो कांसे के बर्तन से कभी नहीं आएगी. And make no mistake, there are no two individuals in this world who have the same fingerprint. Everyone's different. That's why I find most of the ideas that actually need belief, faith to execute in graveyards, because nobody had the courage to implement them. Nobody had the courage to execute them. And this is where Sixer Siddhu comes from. In those days, when I started playing cricket, hitting sixes was a taboo. Bishan Singh Bedi would bowl at me, I would step out and I would hit the ball in the air and he would make me run 7 rounds. And, at times he would forget, bhage jao. Wednesday ko lassi pi ke soye, Thursday tak uthe hi nahi. That's exactly how he did. And suddenly, this thing actually percolates in the World Cup that I played. 87 World Cup, not 87 World Cup. The first Reliance World Cup that Anil Ambani had hosted. And before that, we played Pakistan. How much time left, sir? 10 minutes. We played Pakistan. And when we played Pakistan, log kehte hain, "Are gare nathu khere se haar jo bhai, Pakistan se mat haarna." Right? And we were, this is a charity match. I'm batting around 7 or 8. And suddenly this fellow Manzoor Ilahi comes into bowl. Dibbly dobbly Manzoor Ilahi. And dibbly dobbly Manzoor Ilahi bowls. And I try to whack him over mid-wicket. People are yelling, "Sixer, Siddhu, come on, Siddhu." Try to whack him over mid-wicket. On top edge, out. So I'm walking like a dejected wet hen. I'm walking out. And my coach, Gucci Paji, greets me right at the boundary line. And he gives me a rocket. The choicest of all those heavy Punjabi things. Right? He gave all that. तेरे लिए पटियाले दी पिच लेके आवा. तू छिक्के मारेगा I think. This is a place of international cricket. Hole hole, pole pole, and thalle thalle. No, he tells me. That's what he tells me, right? Exactly that. And now that gets ingrained in my system. Hole, hole. And I forget my originality, right? The next match is the first Reliance Cup match, my comeback after 4 years. And now from there, I'll get to my comeback. 10 minutes, no, sir? Give me 12. Okay. So, you know, the first Reliance Cup match, 80,000 people sitting in the stadium, 1 lakh outside the stadium, and 1 billion people glued to the television. Nobody bats an eyelid. People are just glued to the television. The first Reliance Cup match. They score 262. I take a catch at the boundary. Not that I caught the ball, it was an accident. The ball caught me and people clapped, whatever. We came back and we are chasing 262. I'm sitting in the dressing room. Gavaskar and Srikanth. You all know Srikanth? You know, he never knew how to defend. So we are 45 for no loss. Srikanth and Gavaskar are batting beautiful. I've changed 4 gloves. 4 pairs of gloves. In an air-conditioned dressing room, I've changed 4. And suddenly, Maninder Singh shouts. He says, Sids. I said, what? He says, Gavaskar out hoy. I said, huh? So I got up, my legs are wobbly, and I went back. So, I went back. He again shouts, Sids, Gavaskar out. So I walk out. And in chaste Punjabi, he chides me. He says, Sardar, pagal ho gaye? Ikko hi haath de do to samne leke jayenge. Goodness gracious me. I come back and I change the glove and I walk in. And suddenly, 80,000 people in Chennai get up and start cheering. Fresh spirits infused in my veins, I walk out like a general. And you know, I'm just walking, I'm talking to myself. Punjabi de vich, chhadna nahi aaj watt kar dene goriyan de, bump kar dene. See, this is exactly how you chide yourself and you encourage yourself. Halfway down the ground, the colossal figure of Gucci Paji comes right in front of me and he says, hole hole, pole pole, and thale thale. You know, I'm like a bus balloon. I'm like a bus balloon before, you know, I've taken off, I'm patak, you know. And there's this streak of yellow. And I walk in, what a sense is this yellow streak in Navjot Sidhu. Ghabraya hoya banda. So he surrounds me with almost 9 people close. Dean Jones, Mike Valletta, brilliant fielders, all of them. And there's just one behind. And here's Sixer Sidhu trying to take that one single. You know, I push it towards Dean Jones, he picks it, throw, wapas, back. Try it, mate. Valletta, 5 balls go, no run. And then there is Srikanth. He never believed in a single. He only believed in boundaries and wait da, he would say. So he hit his boundary. Now wait, karke. Again, mere pale mein aa gayi. And the crowd, which was encouraging, Sixer Sidhu starts to hoo and boo. Nothing deflates as fast as a punctured reputation. I'm telling myself, you better take a single for Gucci Paji's sake. Gucci Paji was my coach. Otherwise, it's gone. So I pushed towards point. And I ran towards Srikanth. I said, Srikanth, run, 1. And he's standing there like a traffic cop. He said, Noda. I turned back and I dived for my life. And Aankh mein mitti, charo taraf mitti. And I looked at the umpire. And the umpire said, not out. The moment he said, not out, no, something snapped within me. I said, bhaad mein jaye Gucci Paji, aisi taisi. Vaheguru ji ka khalsa, I said. Vaheguru ji ki fateh. And Alan Border is looking at me, Sardar Devi aagi hoya ki. What is wrong? And I'm saying, Vaheguru ji ka khalsa and Vaheguru ji ki fateh. And the next ball that Peter Taylor bowls at me is a flighted delivery. I go 1, 2, 3. Then I go 4, 5, 6. It's like a gunshot. Middle of the back. Gagan Chumbi, you know, it went so high in the air, that 6, it could have kissed an air hostess and come down. And far boundaries, woo, and it went out over the park and into the car park it went, right? And that's the first 6. Suddenly I'm Navjot Sidhu. From that hole hole thing, I'm suddenly Navjot Singh Siddhu, believe me. 4 overs I played, 6 sixes, 2 boundaries, 1 double. There was nothing, no triple, no single. I was batting 45 not out. And in that World Cup, you pick up the Limca Book of Records, 42 sixes in my name, 5 50s in a row. It's a world record, standstill date. Standstill date. Nobody's ever broken it. Now that's what originality is all about.
You got 2 minutes more to do.
All right, the last thing. All right, last thing. I take your point. The last thing is, We all succumb to adversity. We all become becharas. And see, those who have not achieved have become becharas in adversity. तेरी टालें दे सारी, right? आज ही मेरे टीचर ने नहीं पढ़ाया, इस करके मैं फेल हो गया. आज ही और ग्राउंड की पिच खराब सी जी, फलाना जी, टिमकाना जी. 2,000 excuses. I was dropped. The first test match that Kapil Paji was there, I told the story. I was dropped in 1983. And the media is very strong. The Chotha Paya. It can infuse life in a corpse. Vice versa, alive and a kicking man can go into his grave if the media wants it. And that's true. So this article from Rajan Bala, one fine day I come out of the bathroom and my father is sobbing like a baby. I'd never seen him like that. I'm flabbergasted. I'd never seen my father sob like that. So he hid the newspaper under a pillow. He was Advocate General of the state at that time, the Congress government. So I went to the other room. It hit me like a sledgehammer. And I came back. I allowed him, he was Advocate General, I allowed him to go to Chandigarh. And I came and I took that newspaper out. It was Indian Express, front page of the Indian Express. A huge article said, Navjot Singh Siddhu, the strokeless wonder. It's a tag that sticks on you, that the media gives you. And I was dropped from the 55 that have been selected for 4 teams. After playing for India, after scoring 100, I was dropped. One test match. And here is my father crying. So I cut that article. So I cut that article, I pasted it in my wardrobe. And I took sacred vows. My mother told me, my mother was a Hindu, my father was a Sikh. So Hindu Sikh भाईचारे दी वो बड़ी जबरदस्त जड़ी हुंदी ना भी हिंदू ते सिख जा ही नहीं सकते एक पासे. So she taught me that if you want to actually do something, you would have to take a sankalpa. She taught me sankalp. She taught me the Gayatri mantra. She taught me many things. This is one of them. She says you take sankalpa to the devas, to the Ganapati, and say, this is what you want to do, and until you achieve it, you don't stop. See what happened. I took that sankalpa that day. I cried for hours. And I was transformed after that. Every day I cheated my father. He would wake me in the morning, 5 o'clock. I would go to the other room, sleep. I'd bribe the servants, 20 rupees a week. You don't tell him. After 2 hours of good sleep, I would wear the good old t-shirt that I'd worn the previous evening. Gandhi gili, उसपे थोड़ा पानी वानी मारा, पटका वटका गीला किया, and I would go to my father. कितने भागा? I would say 10. Oh, थक गया? हाँ, सो जा. Again sleep. Every day I would cheat him. Every day. I mean, I'm telling you, this is what I was. And here is a Navjot Sidhu who's totally different. He's taken sankalpa. He's given all his colored clothings, and I love color. Fine feathers make fine birds. We are all Adam's children. It's the silk that makes the difference. And we all know that. I love it. I love color. So I gave up my colored clothing. I gave up my t-shirts. I gave up all that I had. And I was living on white clothes that a cricketer would wear, tracksuits, for 4 years. For 4 years, nothing. I would wake up 4 o'clock in the morning without an alarm, take my, I never call them servants, because my mother used to say, sevak, go. So I would take the sevaks, I would water the pitch myself, I would roll the pitch myself. 1 square meal a day, sleep for 1 hour, dudh jalebi karke, go back, hit 125 sixes every day. My hands would bleed. They would bleed every day. I would have blood all over my hands. Then I invented new gloves which had rui inside. So I would tuck my hand in, the blood would be soaked, and in 3 months, attan pege. Punjabi attan samajh do? Lohe varge haath ho gaye. I could, blindfolded, I could hit a 6. Tap, tap. 2 years down the lane, my father passed away. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to live without him, And then people told me, if you want to realize your dream, carry on. I would come back, started practice, I would come back, there was a cemented wicket in my backyard. My pocket money would go as chocolates to young kids who were 14. They would bowl from 14 yards, faster than Marshall. At night, dinner would be laid on table, 12 o'clock, I would be still batting. I would sleep with my pads on, wake up with my pads on. 4 years henceforth, after that, 4 years after that, the World Cup happened. The story of Gucci Paji happened. Those 42 sixes happened. Kapil Dev rang me up. And then, after those 42 sixes, suddenly I'm a different person. Everybody's recognizing me, everybody wants to touch me, everybody wants an autograph. Life has changed completely. And we are going off to Dubai. We are going to Dubai, and Ravi Shastri throws a newspaper at me. He says, "Seds, there's something wonderful written about you. Have a look." I said, "What?" And there you are, the Khalij Times, front page article by Rajan Bala, the same man who'd written me off. By Rajan Bala, it says, "From strokeless wonder to Sixer Siddhu, what a journey." Life comes back in circles. You know, I've got nothing to offer you. One last line, sir. I've got nothing to offer you, ladies and gentlemen, but blood, sweat, toil, and tears. The only thing that you'll get without effort is dandruff. See, I can end it very well. It's the ending of the story.
Actually, I hadn't forgotten it. There's a lot more to say, because this is the past. I want to talk about the future. And what is Mr. Siddhu doing to live up to his beliefs now in the government of Punjab? I want to say one thing, just one little episode that sums up to me Navjot Singh Siddhu. But 4 days ago, I was with Habib Ansari, former vice president, and just when I was meeting him and telling him I was coming to Kasauli and I would be interviewing him, he said, I'm going to tell you a story. He said, when I was the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, Siddhu came to me. He had been nominated by the BJP government, and he said, "I want to resign." So I said, "In the entire history of the Rajya Sabha, no one's resigned. You've got 6 years. Why do you want to resign?" He said, "No, I want to resign." He said, "Why?" He said, "I want to go back to Punjab. There's nothing to do here. There's nothing I can contribute here." And he resigned, and he came back. Navjot Singh Siddhu has won 6 elections, 4 of them to the parliament, all from Amritsar. In 2014, Mr. Modi asked him to take Kurukshetra, which is an absolutely safe seat in Haryana, and vacate the seat in Amritsar for Arun Jaitley. He said, "No, I will not do that. I will not take Kurukshetra." He did not leave the party. He said, "I will not take Kurukshetra. I have been all my life serving in Amritsar, and I intend to continue staying there." Of course, Jaitley lost, and that is why he was made the thing. He was promised a ministership if he took Kurukshetra, and he said no. I want to tell you that I have had a little interaction with him on a very important subject, which is the whole question of what do you do with urban solid waste, which has become the absolute stifling, suffocating terror of our lives today. And I want to tell you about what I want to ask him how he has gone, what he's planning to do here, because I think it's going to open your eyes. Siddhu Sahab, would you please tell us what your plans are now for what you're exploring, what you intend to do, and what you have definitely rejected in this ministry, this very important job of yours?
Sir, the rejection that you talked about, for me, giving up the Rajya Sabha was very easy. It was the easiest task of my life. My politics is not basically for a post. My goal is to erase the image of the ugly politician. Politicians are not trusted. You ask any parent, they want their sons, daughters to become doctors, engineers. Nobody even thinks about, sending his son or daughter into politics. So, that was the goal. When I first went to Amritsar, they called me a migratory bird. They said, "You're from Patiala, you'll run away." So again, my mother, I took water in the Anjali and I said, as long as I live, whether I win or lose, that's not the story. I will fight elections from Amritsar. And that's what I did. They made me win. I never made any promises. I said, मैं कोशिशें करने आया हूँ, वायदे करने नहीं आया हूँ, कोशिशें करने आया हूँ. They made me win. And I won 2 elections. One of them, 51 seats in North India. No one won. I was the only one in the Manmohan Singh wave, which swept off Uttaranchal, Haryana, Punjab, Himachal, every 51 seats in the plains of North India, I was the only one. Now that was when tough times were there. BJP, right? And when suddenly the Modi wave came and sweeping across, the party president calls me and he says, you can't have the Amritsar seat. I said, sir, I've won thrice from there. Now this is a very, very lucrative time for me. Congenial environment. No, he says, your guru is going to fight from there, Jetli Saab. I said, sir, if you really wish that he fight from there, fair call. I accept it. I welcome him. But I will not betray the people of Amritsar, so I will not go away. So I stayed in Amritsar. I did not fight an election. I did not participate because I was against the Badals. And the Badals were plundering and looting. The state was going down. And in front of me, for me to know what is right and not to do it was the worst cowardice. And I had not joined politics for that. So I gave up that position. They told me Kurukshetra. And anybody who would have fought from Kurukshetra would have won in excess of 2 lakhs. The person who won from there won by 2 lakh votes. I would have won 10 because I know somewhere down the line, मुझे communicate करना आता है थोड़ा बहुत sir. So I gave that up. It was easy. Then from there, Jetli Saab lost by 1.5. He could not forget that. He thought that I was responsible, and I never even came near because it was a wave. Everybody else won. मतलब किसी को भी आप खड़ा कर देते ना, अरबी घोड़े हार गए और गले जीत गए. मैं सीरियसली बोल रहा हूं. और उसी दौर में मुझे ये कहा गया कि अब तुम राज्यसभा ले लो. So I went to Mr. Modi. I told him, sir, if this Rajya Sabha takes me towards Punjab, then this is a place of worship for me. But if it takes me away from Punjab, then this means nothing to me. वही हुआ. 1-1.5 महीने बाद, a top shot, I will not name anyone, calls me and says, Siddhu साहब, आप अकाली दल के लिए कैंपेन करो. मैं कहा ये नहीं होगा सर. Upon my dead body, I will not campaign for dacoits. I will not. ये नहीं होगा. Upon my dead body, I will not do it. अच्छा, तो फिर ऐसा करो, तुम पंजाब से दूर रहो. This happened. I will not name the person because अगर कहना था तो तब कहता मैं. तो इसलिए मैं उनका नाम नहीं लूंगा. But I have to tell you what you were coming at. He says आप पंजाब से दूर रहो. मैं कहा जी मैं अपनी जड़ से दूर नहीं रहूंगा. मेरा दिल पंजाब में है, मेरी जान पंजाब में है, मेरी पहचान पंजाब में है, मेरी औकात पंजाब में है. Says what will you do? मैं कहा सर वो मैं बाद में बताऊंगा. So I went back. मैंने कहा अगर मैंने जाके इनको किसी को रेजिग्नेशन दिया ना, इन्होंने मानना नहीं. इन्होंने मुझे मना लेना है. They will realize, they'll prevent, they'll do all sorts of things. So I went all alone. That is the incident that you're talking about. I went to Mr. Ansari and I said, sir, give me that one line that says that he says, why do you want to do it? People give their arm for that. I mean, people give everything to be in the Rajya Sabha. Are you under pressure? I said, no, sir. This is a burden. This is no longer a place of joy. And my success has always been about passion. It is passion and not pedigree which wins you in the end. I live one idea, breathe one idea, sleep one idea, talk one idea. And until that idea becomes a tidal wave, immerses every pore in my body, and every pore in my body sings that idea, I'm never successful. And that is why I have no passion left. So I'm giving up the Rajya Sabha. So that is the story that you talked about. Now, my future plans.
Yeah.
See, the future plans on solid waste management, if you want to tip on that.
I would like you to start there because I want you to go for it. You said 2 things to me. He said 2 things to me and I think you should know. He said garbage is gold. Plastics in particular is a very, very valuable thing. And the second thing he said to me was that Punjab needs, and I intend to bring to Punjab, a 3rd green revolution. I want
That's
you
right.
to dwell on both.
See, when you say this, I have solved all the jigsaw puzzles in my department, whether it was tourism or, it was local self-government. But there's one thing which is as elusive as Scarlet Pimpernel, which is like a Greek puzzle, and that is solid waste management. In spite of the fact that the Honorable Prime Minister says Swachh Bharat, I think he and the whole country has failed. We have failed. I'll tell you how. He says either burn waste, that's incineration, or have heaps of waste. When you go into Delhi, you'll see a tall mountain of waste. A tall mountain of waste which stands right welcoming you into Delhi. Or you make compost out of it. Right? All three have polluted us. They've polluted our rivers. They've actually polluted the atmosphere. And I read a recent survey which was done by the United Nations. You're a technical man, you would know it is called IPCC, if I'm not mistaken, right? It says that in 1750, when industrialization first set foot and we discovered the first engine, if temperatures which were at that time so and so, if they rise 1.5 degrees, the ice at the tundra, the ice in the Arctic will start melting, and the world is going to have a very, very perilous path where we could, go extinct. That's exactly what the study says. And that's a study for the politicians. Most of us don't even lay our hands on it. Right? Now what it says is that you have to find a solution to all this because of our rivers, because of the air being polluted. What is the solution? What is the solution? And the solution is simple. You convert it into synthesis gas. It has happened for almost 200 times. There are, and you would vouch for it. In America, in Sweden, in Switzerland, in Austria, people are converting waste, and that is why they call it gold. They are converting waste into synthesis gas, and that synthesis gas is the mothership. Once you find that synthesis gas can be converted into diesel, into high octane fuel, into cooking gas. And once you do that, you will succeed in the idea of no pollution for Mother Earth. And that's a win-win situation. That's what I dream about. That's why I'm actually touring Europe. I'm going to places, and I want this solid waste management puzzle to be solved. Once we go onto that tangent, and once that is believable and achievable, I think 90% of our problems will be solved.
I will add one thing to this. It's small, but it's revolutionary. Once you stop thinking of garbage as a nuisance, but as a resource from which you can in fact get the most valuable things in the world, particularly today given our foreign exchange shortage, transport fuels, and you don't have to then go to fossil fuels, you both save, you do your bit for saving the world, preventing climate change, but you also create an incentive because garbage has value. You are able to pay people, the poorest of the poor, to pick up every tiny shred of garbage and bring it to a collection center. If you do that, you will have a clean India, because it will be in every poor person's interest. There are rag pickers, as you know, entire colonies of them. They are highly organized. You suddenly give them a whole new area, a new additional income which will change their lives. Mind you, may I just add one more thing? This is not his area, so I'm going to speak about this, but the same technology, the conversion of biomass into synthesis gas, which is, by the way, carbon monoxide and hydrogen with some carbon dioxide. Synthesis gas, the conversion of any biomass into synthesis gas is possible. And think of all the crop residues which are burnt on the fields in Punjab and in Haryana and all over India.
I'll interrupt you, sir, for a minute.
Destroy up at
for a moment, sir.
Turn into gold.
Sir, the report says that, the incinerations, the burning of garbage produces dioxins. Is that the word?
That's right.
Dioxins is the word. Dioxins will not get out of a human body till the person lives. There are only two scopes that dioxins are eliminated of your body. They are eliminated. One, when a mother breastfeeds. That's one. And correct me if I'm wrong, sir. And the other is when she gives birth. Through her son or daughter, those dioxins will leave her body. That is how dangerous this is. And I can tell you, in Punjab, my real problems, what I envisage is the biggest hurdle for Punjab and everybody, is that we are drinking water which is toxic. There are tube wells that are supposed to be dug up at 200 feet. They are dug up at 60 feet to save money for corruption. And from that 60 feet, they're pulling out arsenic, they're pulling out bacillobacteria, they're pulling out fluoride. There are cancer trains plying in Punjab. And these are the solutions. Unless we go and these are basic facilities, sir. Drinking water is basic facility. And 60% of Punjab is drinking polluted waters. This 60% of India. You know, you're losing almost 60 odd % of man days. That's what the government of India says. Man days, which a man can work and contribute to his country because of waterborne diseases. I wanted to interrupt you. Sorry, sir.
That's fine. No, absolutely. In fact, I welcome what you had to say. I just want to complete one more thing. Think not just of the fact that you will end pollution. Think of what it means to the farmer. It means that his stubble, the rice straw, the wheat straw, which has once had many uses but now has very few. These then become a second source of income. I have done the calculations that actually the conversion of rice straw and wheat straw into transport fuels will give the farmer a higher return than the wheat and rice itself give you. It means a doubling of the farmer's net income with no additional cost. It's an absolutely extraordinary thing. You know, if you disbelieve this, let me tell you one thing. One single, tell you the power of technology. One single innovation in 1812 in Britain, James Watt, the steam engine. In 100 years from that day, Britain was ruling 1/4 of the world. There's similarly what Americans have done with digitalization, creating the digital world, enables them to continue ruling the world today when in fact they have become quite a weak power. So technology is actually a key ingredient in the transformation of India, and that's what Mr. Siddhu was talking about.
Well, I can say that, you can't actually catch a Mercedes riding a bicycle or a bullock cart. I mean, we are living in Rip Van Winkle's times. We've got to evolve. And that evolution will take a lot of courage, because nothing great was ever achieved without an active decision. We'll have to take decisions which are not ostrich mentality, but which are solutions. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the precipitate. And that is how I foresee this belief to achieve. I've always done things which may sound out of the box, and the man with a new idea is referred to as a crank until the idea succeeds. There have been many. So I walk that path, I walk that zone, but if it succeeds, it helps everybody, sir. Everybody.
We have 3 or 4 minutes, and I think we have time for questions. Please.
Any question?
1, 2, 3. May I just take these 3, please? Yes, madam. Would you start? And you keep your hands up. I'd love to see that. I don't want to make a mistake. Okay.
It was fascinating to hear you on Swachhata. First of all, the Swachhata of the mind, to have very clear intentions and how to achieve them. And then, of course, coming down to brass tacks like garbage. Wealth out of waste is a wow factor. But at the basic crux of it lies the participation of every individual present over here, and that is segregation. All the countries that you cited, among them I think the Sisa plant in Sweden being one of the best in the world, is actually, they call themselves low functioning at 98% capacity utilization, which is strange. They're planning to buy garbage from China. They're already buying from Europe.
So that's gold.
So that's gold. But the gold actually happens because of 2 things. One, the community's participation right from the inception in understanding how waste is to be handled. Because segregation, once the waste is mixed, we have diluted the opportunity. And until that is done, you don't have the quality of waste to achieve the intentions that we have.
Madam, you're absolutely right about segregation. But one of the great things about this is that you only need to do one segregation.
That's
segregation of inorganic, inert waste from all organic wastes. You don't need to do 2 segregations, which is what the old system of segregation that you're talking about, which has been tried in Europe and has actually failed. It takes too much time for me to describe. Even Switzerland has failed. I've actually gone and discussed this in Switzerland. The fact is, if you just make this separation, it's enough. And there are 100 separation techniques now, including using sensors, which make sure they separate metals, glass, etc., different kinds of metals, and they give you 100% separation.
It's already happening.
You know, this is already there. It's being used in all the dumps in the US, for example. So I would say that this is not a problem any longer, and but I'm glad you brought it up because it is very important. Everything we do towards segregation helps, but it's not sufficient, and you know it will never be 100%. Therefore, there's another stage of segregation that's required, and that is very easy.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sorry, little angel, time is up. And, I'm a disciplined soldier.
1 minute. Jaldi bolo.
So what are the strategies that you used in cricket that still apply to your political career?
One sentence.
Cannot happen. Let me tell you, 1 minute, madam. In politics, if you're 5, they can make 50 out of you. And if you're 100, they can make you a big 0. Whereas cricket and television is a merciless medium, especially a test match. It's a merciless medium. 20 का 21 नहीं होता, 21 का 20 नहीं होता. It honors merit. Politics seldom honors merit. Attack.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Siddhu, just 1 minute more, please. We request you. Rishu Agarwal, a young painter from Kasoli, has done a portrait of yours and would like to present it. Rishu Agarwal, please come with your portrait.
ये तो मुझसे ज्यादा हैंडसम है यही। झूठ बोल रहे हो? ऐसा नहीं, I'll do what I did to Bajwa, Jaffi. It's without a puppy. See, this is again just an expression of warmth, of affection. That's what a Punjabi does. I'm a true Punjabi.
Also Indian, not just Punjabi.
Indian. Okay then, 30 seconds. Okay, Punjabi banda Punjabi na bole ala झूठ बोलता है. One last parting shot. You know the last. अब फिर क्या कहना है? सिद्धू ने शेर नहीं सुना है. पहली तक. And this is in Punjabi. Chase Punjabi, right? लोहा तपदा है, पिघलदा है, सुलगदा है. लोहा तपदा है, पिघलदा है, सुलगदा है, फिर जाके 2 धारी तलवार बनदा है. और सोना खा के सुनियार दी मार पिछों किसे हीर दे गले दा हार बनदा है. लख औखड़ा मुसीबतां अन्नियां तूफान चेल के कोई सिंह सूरमा सरदार बनदा है. There are sardars and there are asardar sardars.
May we have the mic back, please, Mr. Siddhu? May I have the mic back?
छोड़ो यार नहीं आओ भाई.
Thank you very much. I think everybody's enjoyed the session greatly. The next session, may I have your attention, please? The next session is Strangers No More, presenting Sanjoy Hazarika, Mitra Phukan and Jahanvi Borua in conversation. New narratives from the Northeast. I invite Sanjoy Hazarika, Mitra Phukan and Jahanvi Borua to be seated on the stage, please. Could you come up to the stage, please?
I'm going this way.
Sanjoy is a human rights activist recognized internationally for designing and developing innovative strategies for inclusive health and government. Also a scholar and filmmaker and director for the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, CHRI. Mitra